Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is Jordan and Anthony joining me, Jeremy, this week, and I apologize, but I don't have a webcam. I moved houses, and it is lost somewhere in my boxes still.
Oh, no.
All right, so it's been a pretty, I'd say, turbulent few weeks in fantasy football. I had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. I had a good win over Brendan, and then I lost pretty narrowly last week after Mark Andrews put up 41 points. It was a pretty I feel like a lot of people on offense really there were some really big point getters last week.
Yeah, especially if you stacked a few teams. Like I know if you stacked the Chargers, Herbert, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler all had great games. And then if you stack the Ravens, Lamar Jackson had a fantastic game last week, and then obviously Mark Andrews, and I believe Hollywood Brown had a decent game. I'm not sure though. So yeah, the stacking. I mean, if you stack correctly, I mean, could work out in your favor.
Yeah.
I didn't play Mike Williams, unfortunately, but I still got the job
It's
done.
very unfortunate.
Yeah, he seems to be a hot commodity right now, and
He's he's had a great start so far.
Yeah, him and Cordell Patterson. I was lucky enough to pick him up in free agency just because he was a running back and a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured I have some flexibility there to help with the bye weeks. But people seem to have them on their radar. I've gotten more than a few offers from Chip, and some other people around the league have been sending me offers. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Let's go into some of the standings so far. I'm showing them on the board and zooming them in. If you guys want me to screen share, I can.
That'd be good. Anthony, you've been killing it.
I've had a lot of luck. And then my luck light ran out last week. Corey put up a heck of a game, so we'll see. We'll see how things go.
You beat me a couple of weeks ago, and that was after I scored 180 points the week before.
Like I said, I've had a lot of luck. I hit the teams at just the right time.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think it's those teams that are a little bit lower in the standings but have the higher points. I think those are the real ones you got to watch out for. And we'll just kind of see how things go.
Yeah, like AJ's team, they're kind of riddled with injuries right now. But he scored 652 points, which is pretty up there for a league.
That's against.
Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. I take that back. He's not up there.
Poor AJ.
He's had 652 points scored against him, which does suck.
He's had a tough go.
Well,
Yeah.
see, so Chip I know has been really angry because he's not doing too bad. He has 634 points for him, and he complains every week because everybody has a great game against him. And I know he's just been trying to offer any kind of trade to get Mike Williams. I have 2 in my queue right now from him that I still need to look at, but I know he's been a big. He's getting frustrated to say the least.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things you're gonna have tough weeks. I mean, when you look at it, he's at 630 points against him. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are higher that have more points against him, and there's a lot of teams that are below him. So it's kind of he's kind of right there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's
for sure.
Yeah, let's just go straight from the top. So in Division 1, where me and Anthony are, we got Anthony, Lions Kool-Aiders, Washington Sentinels, Chip, me, the Tim Ellington Dealers, and No Pants for Life. So I believe that's Adam. So
Yep.
yeah, this is a pretty competitive division, I think. Like honestly, 1 week No Pants could beat you, Anthony, and 1 week the opposite. So it's been pretty cutthroat here, I think.
Yeah, I feel like we're definitely a step below the other division as far as we don't have the top end talent. Like
Yeah,
I feel like Jordan and Nick are definitely the teams to beat in the league right now. At least what we've seen in the first 5 weeks. It just so happens that division has both of them, so that makes it easier for us, I guess. So yeah, I think we're a pretty balanced league division. I've been lucky, like I said. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Adam, like coming into like after the draft, with his running back situation at the beginning of the year, I thought he had that division locked down because he had Chubb, Gibson, McCaffrey, and obviously McCaffrey's been hurt, and then Chubb splits his carries with Kareem Hunt, and a few other things didn't necessarily go his way. But that's still a team that I think can bounce back because we still have a lot of football left to be played.
Especially when Christian
Yeah,
McCaffrey is 100%.
Robert Woods hasn't helped him out the first couple games, though he did look like he turned around last week. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I was
Robert Woods.
all that last week against me when he just dropped like 27 points on me. I was like, God.
Yeah. If Robert Woods can get it turned around, I think Adam's got a pretty formidable team. I agree with you. After the draft, I thought Adam had the team to beat, and things haven't quite shooken out the way I thought they would. And I'm sure they haven't shooken out how Adam thought they would yet either. So, but he's got some good depth. He's got some good guys on his bench too that could be good pieces. I liked the Marlon Mack pickup this week. He spent $1 extra on his fab than I did, so he ended up getting Marlon Mack, and I believe the rumor is he's getting traded, but we'll see. So that could be a nice pickup for Adam if Marlon Mack gets traded somewhere that he could start.
Yeah, the running back waiver wire has been kind of interesting because I'm sure I definitely wasn't the only one who was trying to pick up Booker for the Giants this week because Barkley's down. I think it's Booker. I think that's his name.
It is Booker.
Somebody bid $40 on him, and I bid 35. So I was a little disappointed after that because Jeremy and I made a trade where I gave up some of my depth, but it's just been wild because it's hard to find a good running back on the waiver wire. You just gotta hope that you hit for a few people, and then hope that you don't ever hope for injuries, but as injuries occur, you hope that someone's a breakout star to fill that gap.
Watch the games, and as soon as a running back doesn't walk off the field, draft his backup. That's what I've been trying to do the past few weeks, and I have definitely improved my running back depth a lot in the past few weeks, especially with a pretty solid trade from Jordan.
So just to give you an idea on Booker, the winning offer was $40. Ben got him.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in at 25 was
not 35.
That was you. Adam came in at 23. Nick came in at 15, and I had a $5 bid on him. So quite a few people were interested in him. I think it's a good pickup for Ben. Add some depth, and Ben needed it because Ben was he had why can I never remember names? The guy who got hurt, the starting running back for
Kansas City.
Barkley, thank you. No, he had Saquon, so he needed him. That was a big pickup for Ben to get that backup. So, I mean, it just goes to show you having those handcuffs is important. Sometimes it's easy to forget that when you see other players out there that are having an immediate impact.
Well, I know there was a big conversation when Jeremy drafted Dalvin Cook because Chip, I believe, picked up Madison. And I think in the Discord we talked about at the time, like if you're gonna pick up Cook, you might want to have Madison because Cook's one of those guys that doesn't necessarily play a full year sometimes. He's one of those guys that they can sit and then Madison gets a big impact, and it showed last week against the Lions.
Chip has had no lack of trying to trade Madison for Cook, but he just can't pry him out of my hands.
Yeah, I think it comes out. Chip kind of shotgunned the backup running backs this year, and it's really worked out for him so far because there's been a lot of running backs that have gotten hurt this year, a lot more than normal, I think. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we look at stats. That might be wrong, but it feels like there's more this year so far than typically in the first quarter of the season. Yeah, so like I said, that's when you look at his team, he's got. What has he got? 3 or 4 guys right now that are starters that weren't just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he's got Hubbard. He's got Madison.
Darrell Williams.
Yeah.
So I thought there was another one, but maybe not. But regardless, right now he's got some good value in these guys, and he's got to figure out how to either move them quickly or
he's trying.
Lose value.
He's trying.
And you gotta do it in a way like everyone knows these guys are only going to have value for a couple weeks, so you can't expect to get the moon with backups.
That's the issue too, because I would love to have Hubbard or whatever his name is, but I can't give up somebody that's going to be good for a whole season to get 2 or 3 weeks worth of value out of them. You know what I mean?
Right. It comes down to like if you needed a guy for a couple of weeks and that's like you didn't have the depth, then you'd be willing to give up probably a better wide receiver than the running backs he's offering you. But if you have backups, then it's just the value's not there. You're not going to pay for a rental with a starter for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, a rental.
Yep.
That's where it gets really hard because I'm like, it's a good offer if it was a different situation.
Right. But, so you just got to find the right situation.
Yeah.
Luckily for Chip, he's got three pretty good running backs. In Harris, Taylor, and Swift. I think he'll be unless he gets riddled with injuries, which the way this season's going, you got to assume you're going to get some. We're all going to get some. Right now, he looks like he's in pretty good shape, and then with Melvin Gordon on his bench, it gives him a fourth solid running back to go.
I think Harris is only going to get better too as the season goes on. As a rookie running back, I mean, Juju just went down for the season too, so he's going to be more involved. He plays almost all of their snaps for the Steelers. Mm-hmm. I think he's only going to get better as the season goes on. So, and I
was surprised to hear how down Chip was early in the season, first week or two on Harris.
Yeah,
I was like, all right, well, this is an opportunity because I liked Harris, but no, that was not to be. So, but no, he's got a good team. I don't know. He's projected to beat me right now. I think he probably will unless something crazy happens.
Yeah, but except it's you, Anthony, where you find a way. Your team finds a way.
It's the the commissioner tax. I got to pay it.
Call the NFL, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyway, back to the standings. Did we finish Division 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick a team out of Division 1 right now, it's tough. There's a lot of good teams. It's hard to pick the one. I think Mike's got a solid team. He puts up a lot of points.
I'd probably give it to Mike too, yeah.
Yeah. Ben's got a decent team. Ben's team seems to be turning around from early on in the season. So it's a competitive division. Like I said, we don't have the top end talent that you guys do, but I think if we could pull off and get 3 teams from our division in the playoffs, I'd be happy. I'd love to see that. So we'll see how that goes.
Do we know when Ben drafted Jamar Chase? Because that might be the steal of the draft. To be honest.
I can look real quick if you give me 1 second.
He's an absolute stud.
I want to say he was like 6th or 7th round, I believe, but let's see.
So it's LSU wide receivers.
Yeah.
And he has Kadarius Toney, who I think is also going to be a stud this year.
I was so disappointed when I went to go pick up Toney and he was gone.
I checked today too, and I'm like, who has him? And then I saw, and I'm like,
I'm not sure. I think he got him like a week ago. I actually looked like a couple of days ago, and he was gone. All right, so he got Jamar Chase for the 7th round.
Still pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase has been nothing but a touchdown machine.
Yeah, and that was a big miss for a lot of us. I think there's a lot of drops going on in the preseason, and then I think just before that draft, our draft, I think he came out with that whole thing about how NFL footballs are bigger.
He couldn't see
college footballs or something. He couldn't see it, and it was like, oh god, this is not a good sign. I'm not sure where that whole thing came from, but he clearly knows how to catch a ball.
He can see the football, yeah.
Yeah. So, no, it's really interesting. Like at some point, we'll probably maybe midway through the season, we'll do a draft recap and kind of go through the different rounds again. I know we did it early, but now that once we get a little better view of the season, it's always fun to go back to the draft and look at like who got drafted in front of certain players. Like you look at Jamar Chase in the 7th round, like Robert Tonyan got drafted in the 5th round. He's floating out there, There's arguably some people in the first couple rounds that probably should be dropped and aren't just because of their names.
Yeah, I mean it's hard too. Like you don't want to drop someone you drafted in the 1st round,
right?
First, 2nd round. Like I struggled with that last year with Ezekiel Elliott. I didn't want to get rid of him. I drafted him in the 1st round. I thought he was going to turn it around all year, and he never did. I think he's having a little bit better of a season this year because Dak's back and that offense and that team actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, I look at a Kenyon Drake 6th round, hasn't really done much. Trey Sermon in the 5th round, for me, that was a huge bust so far. It's always fun to go back and look, where did we screw up, and learn from it, and hopefully not make the mistakes. Johnny Smith in the 10th round. Fun times.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. We need to get back to the other division now.
All right, Division 2, my division.
We got to come up with other names for these divisions.
We really do. Like Southwest and there's like directionals. I don't know.
So we got Holy at the top of the division, 4-1. Crushed me last week. This team looks good. It's a solid team.
Looks very good.
We got you coming up, Jordan, after that. Another good team. Nick comes in 3rd. Then we got AJ with a 2-3 record. We got Brendan with a 2-3 record, and then we got Donnie at the end with a 1-4. Though I don't think they should be sleeping on Donnie. I think he's still got a good team. He's had some bad luck early on. I mean, Ridley. I think Ridley's on his team, and Ridley has really struggled.
Yeah,
I think it's fair to assume. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Kyle Pitts too. He was projected to be like the next greatest tight end ever, and he had a good week last week.
I think Kyle Pitts is going to turn it around. I saw some numbers today, and he hasn't had the numbers on the field yet, but some of the other stuff, the targets and things like that, I think he's going to turn it right. In fact, I would love to get Kyle Pitts if Donnie would trade him, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, if you look at the last game where Pitts kind of had like a breakout game, he had a ton of targets, and it just proves if you give him the chances and kind of use that offense to center it around him, he could be a great pickup. But like so far this year, I mean, for what was projected, what I thought he was going to be, a little bit disappointing. But like you said, I think he can turn it around like that.
He's had one game where he's 3rd game against the Giants. He had 3 targets. But other than that, he's had 6 targets or more in the other 4 games. The past 2 games, he's had 9 and 10 respectively. So they seem to be understanding they need to get him the ball. Now, whether Atlanta can turn that offense around, I don't know. That's the problem. Is you got him and Ridley on his team, and they're both in one of the worst offenses in the league so far this year.
Matt Ryan needs to figure something out.
Right.
He just hasn't run like Matty Ice.
No, and it seems like Matt Ryan's every other year type of guy. Like 1 year he's great, the next year he's garbage. Then he's great, and he's garbage. So I still think they're going to get that turned around, that team. But every lost week hurts, especially when you start 1-4. So
right. I was looking at AJ's team earlier because I'm facing him this week, and he's just been decimated with injuries. Edwards-Hilaire's on the IR. George Kittle's on the IR. Gronk is hurt. Sterling.
Gronk is pretty seriously hurt too. I didn't realize how bad. I guess he's got some cracked and broken ribs, which I didn't know cracked and broken are different, but
like a punctured lung too. I heard.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like that's a couple weeks thing. That sounds like that's take a month off. We'll see you in November.
Right. So AJ's got some stuff to try to figure out.
He's also AJ. If you're listening, you have 2 IR slots. Use them and pick up other players.
I wish I had more.
I've tried. No one wants to do it. I've tried.
Logan Thomas, who was my keeper from this past year, this past draft, he got pretty seriously hurt. He was on the IR, and then I'm like, I don't want to drop him because I think he's a decent tight end. I need to figure something out. I need to figure out what to do with him because he's just wasting a spot on my roster right now. And then I had Jerry Jeudy on the IR too, and then somebody else, I think.
AJ must be paying attention because he picked up Dan Arnold, and he was available a couple days ago. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Jarvis Landry is also on my IR. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So. Anyway.
AJ's, look at he's got Hollywood Brown on his flex. That guy, if it wasn't for like 4 drop passes in Detroit, would probably be a top 5 receiver in the league right now.
Yeah, he would have like 3 more touchdowns in Detroit.
Yeah, if you take out the Detroit game, the lowest he's had is 19 points.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then AJ, I know AJ was pretty high on his tight ends a couple weeks ago. It's just injury bad luck. That's all it is. I know at one point he was playing one of them at flex too. So it's hard. And then Tyler Lockett, of course, Seattle. Geno Smith is leading that team. He's done calling coin tosses.
No,
Although I heard Blake Bortles is also being worked out for the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's. I think if you've got Lockett or you've got the other guy, Jorge's got him. DK. Yeah, I think you're going to be sweating it for a month or so.
Yeah, I don't know what the better option there is, Geno Smith or Blake Bortles, but if those are your two best options, you might be in trouble.
Blake Bortles, surprisingly, Blake Bortles. Well, from a fantasy standpoint, he actually was a decent quarterback.
Really?
He was when Blake Bortles was playing for Jacksonville, you could slide him in and he'd be a top 10 quarterback almost consistently every week. Surprisingly. And I didn't see that right away. I think it was a couple years in, and I heard something about it, and I checked it out, and it was like, holy cow, he's fairly consistent. He wasn't great. He's not going to get you the huge games, but he was getting you like a consistent, like QB1 type of number.
And sometimes that's all you need, just a consistent little boost.
If you've got the big names for running backs or wide, like if you got a Derrick Henry like I do, and he gets you 40 points in a game, I just need a quarterback to get me 18, 19 points. I don't need 28 points out of the quarterback.
Derrick Henry's been pretty good for you, Anthony. I know you weren't too happy about getting him, but
I have been incredibly lucky, and I'm going to continue to knock on wood and hope he stays healthy.
Yeah,
may my RoboCop stay healthy for the rest of the year.
He is basically a robot.
He is that man. I've watched a few games on Red Zone this year where I've been able to see him, and it's insane watching that guy play.
My dog's barking.
He's so big and so fast.
That's the thing, right? Who can tackle that man? Because you see him running downhill, you can't do anything.
No.
And I got lucky when we were playing. I'm like, man, Derrick Henry cannot get another touchdown right now, and the game went to overtime or something. Mm-hmm. And it was like a 2-minute drill, and they weren't giving the ball to Henry, and I was like, yes, don't give him the ball. I think that's when they lost the Jets or something like that.
The one thing that has hurt me is I've got AJ Brown, and when Henry's running as much as he is, the passing game is essentially non-existent.
Yeah, exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do, because they've got Tennessee's been good, but they haven't been dominant.
Right.
I feel like they got to get that passing game going.
Yeah, and you would think with the addition of Julio, and he hasn't really been a factor yet. I think
he was good in the first game.
Yeah.
But, he's been hurt pretty much since then, if I remember correctly.
That's been the story with Julio Jones the last 5 years, is he gets injured. He can't play a full season, and he's one of the greatest wide receivers in the game today if he could just play.
Yeah.
So, one of the most, by talent and size standards, I should say. Anyway, I think this week's going to be kind of a separation week where the good teams really put some distance between themselves with the rest of the teams, because we're getting not the midpoint of the season, but we're getting to a deeper part of the season where I feel like true colors of teams are going to start showing soon. Because bye weeks are now a factor, so you get to test your depth and stuff like that. So I think we'll have a better idea of what teams actually are after this week and the upcoming weeks.
Yeah. No, it's no doubt. You've had some teams, I think, I look at a couple of teams that have done really well, and they've got really good top-end talent to spend their starters, but there's not a lot of depth there. So as they start getting some of these guys on bye, it'll be interesting to see what they can do. Just basically to follow exactly what you just said.
Yeah. I know my top two running backs, Eckler and Robinson, have been amazing so far for me, but they both have a bye in week 7. And
I wish I would have offered you something for James Robinson in week 1.
You should have.
And you probably would have taken it. It was terrible those first 2 weeks, yeah.
But and then I traded with Jeremy this past week, and I traded away a running back, which I was really scared about. But I had to consider, all right, I don't have any tight end talent either right now. So I picked up Ertz, and Goddard has COVID or something like that right now. So hopefully Ertz gets some points tonight. Chip is texting right now about the divisions.
Is he watching?
Chip?
No, Jeremy and I were talking about your trade. I think it was either today at work or yesterday. But I feel like it was a pretty balanced trade. In my opinion, I think Jeremy made out, because I feel like the running back depth is so hard to get. I feel like that's a little more valuable. But if Ertz gets you what you need, then who cares, right? I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to.
And also, I've mentioned this plenty of times. Patterson is also a running back. He's listed. I can slide him into a running back slot. So and he gets me decent points. So I'm really only missing one solid starter. When my running backs have a bye, and that's where I picked up the guy from New England or something like that. And
yeah, I like that Bolden pickup. Until James White comes back, I think he'll be solid.
Yeah. If I get 10 points from him, I'll be happy. My receivers are good enough where they can carry for a week, hopefully. I have enough depth there with Mooney and Williams and everyone else I got. So
right. I don't, unless you're like Adam or maybe Chip. Other than that, I don't see anyone starting through running backs. There's not enough depth in the running back position for a team across the league for the whole league to start through running backs. So, except what? Except right.
Yeah,
and there are some people that are starting wide receivers at flex that probably get more points than Chip or Adam's flex do on certain weeks. So, wide receiver really is the dominant position, I feel like. Running back, you have to draft a lot because injuries, and you still have to start 2 running backs. Exactly. With wide receivers, I feel like there's just a way larger pool of players that actually get points.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of where the NFL is right now, where it's a pass first league, where points are scored. You watch the Chargers and Browns game, I think it was this past week, and there were 82 points scored combined. If that's what the Chargers offense is going to look like, give me all their wide receivers. I mean, that's where it is right now, and there's plenty of wide receivers like Mike Williams, not a big name, that are going to rack up points because they get targets, and that's pretty much all you need is targets.
Well, look at how many teams are out there that you could probably have both wide receivers on your team and be happy, right?
Yeah,
Arizona is a team like that. You might be able to start 3 wide receivers from that team. You got what you just said with the Rams, Seattle. I don't know about Kansas City because it's mostly Tyreek Hill, but look at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's at least 2 wide receivers. Some weeks maybe 3. For whatever reason, Pittsburgh's kind of like that too. Deontay Johnson's been pretty solid, and usually you can get Claypool a good point total.
Yeah, I mean even the Vikings too with Thielen and Jefferson.
Yeah.
The past few weeks they haven't been that explosive, but that you expect them to score touchdowns. So, I mean, there are a lot of teams where you could double up or triple up for whoever you need.
Yeah.
I think that Deontay Johnson is probably... I'm jealous. I wish I had Deontay Johnson.
Yeah. Well, I got lucky. He got dropped a couple times last year, and I've been watching him, and I got very lucky, so I just snagged him. And he's done better than I could have hoped. I didn't think he was going to be as consistent as he is. So... Sometimes you get lucky. Like Ben picking up Tony. I think Tony's that type of guy. Look at
the Giants. They don't have any other receivers right now.
Right. I've thought about throwing Ben a trade offer with one of my top guys for Tony. I think that highly of him from what I've seen. But we'll see.
Early in the season, Tony was complaining that he wasn't being used correctly, and he might be right. Judging by his last game before he punched that guy in the face, that's a potential problem. But, you can get over that.
What's wrong?
Yeah. No,
star wide receiver punched a guy in the nose, and now he's out for 3 to 5 weeks.
Thank you, Michael Thomas, last year.
A Des Bryant situation, too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Should we look at matchups real quick?
Yeah, let's
do a quick matchup
this week.
I kind of already talked about Chip and myself briefly, but it's there is. Sorry, let's look at your screen there, Jeremy. Sorry, on my screen it shows me as the top. That's why I went right to it. Go ahead, you can do yours.
First thing we got me. Sorry, I clicked on you and Chip again.
Oh, okay.
So we got me and Adam. This is a pretty tight matchup, I think. We're both predicted in the mid 120s. He hasn't slotted in a kicker yet. I wonder if this is a strategy that some people are doing in this league where they don't pick up a kicker until right before the injury stuff processes, so they know if they need to pick up another receiver just in case or another running back just in case. They do that. And then wait.
I think it's entirely possible that's what's going on. Adam's the type of guy that he doesn't really care about his kick. The thing is, there's some good kickers still out there. Like every week, you can pick up a good kicker. So
I dropped Hot Rod this week.
I had to drop Gay.
I think I picked up Gay.
He's hurt.
He's questionable. He'll be okay.
Okay.
He'll be fine.
I picked up.
Hot Rod has a hip problem, so yeah.
Adam's got a lot of questionables out there. Hopefully, he gets some clear signs as to what's going on with these guys before the week starts. McCaffrey, I don't know if he's going to play or not.
If
I heard
McCaffrey
he has not been practicing.
Doesn't start, I will be pretty confident in this matchup, but I'm really worried about Christian McCaffrey going off and putting up 30 again.
Can I just say that the Yahoo prediction is, I hate it.
It's bad.
Because, so last week, at one point I was like 75% chance I was going to win, and then it went back to like 18 or something like that where I was going to win, and then I won. So I'm tired of the Yahoo prediction thing. It's garbage. I know Anthony, our week it went back and forth a lot.
Well, the thing that frustrates me is if a guy gets hurt and he's out, they leave those points on that prediction. So you're like, oh, I'm in decent shape. You're like, wait a second, this person's out. Take out those 15 points because he's not scoring.
Yeah, like
so it's one of those things that it doesn't respond, and I don't know if there's a way to make that happen. That might be asking a little too much, but yeah, it can be frustrating. I don't tend to look at that too much once the games start. It gives you something to look at, but
yeah. I've just been frustrated the past couple of weeks. I'm like, I was predicted 80% chance to be crushing right now, and then somebody scores like 45 points. I'm like, well, I can't predict that.
Right. Well, that was me with Hoyer last week. Jackson had 3 points in the first half, and he ended up with 45.
Yeah.
So, it just sometimes things happen, and there's not much you can do about it.
So how you feeling? You feeling good about this one?
I'm feeling pretty good because I really think that one of his 4 questionable starters is gonna have to step out, and he doesn't have a super deep bench. I know he has a pretty good wide receiver, however you say that name, L. Chenault Jr.
Laviska Shenault.
Laviska, yeah.
Yeah, but his running back situation isn't too deep, so I think if one of these starters drops, then I'm gonna be in pretty good shape. But I don't know. There's a few days between now and Sunday, so they could come back onto the field. I'm not getting too cocky yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, Chubb didn't practice today. It's not good.
No, not at all. And if
did Gibson practice? Okay, looks like Gibson's good to go, but yeah, Chubb's highly questionable, and McCaffrey, from what I understand, is too. So, he might be scrounging. He'll put Pollard in. Pollard will be solid for him. Pollard's been good. I think Pollard actually is drawing up a little bit more workload than I think anyone really thought he was going to have this year.
Pollard's been really good.
Yeah, so he probably would run. If it were me, I'd probably run with Gibson and Pollard, and then I put Chenault in at the flex. If McCaffrey and Chubb can't go. You're catching him on a really good week, Jeremy.
Yeah,
for him to lose 2 of those guys in 1 week, that's a huge blow. And Murray apparently is still limited, so that's a tough break for that runs anyone's depth. I mean, that's really hard to come back from losing 3 of those guys in 1 week. So
yeah,
and he's got some pretty annoying bye weeks too that he has to work around as well. 3 players out is not nothing. Especially with 4 or 5 people unquestionable. So let's go into Anthony and Chip. This could be Chip's turning point this season, I think. I think Chip could go on a run from here.
I swear, if Dawson Knox is like the reason Chip wins this league, I'm going to be kicking myself because I'm the one that told him to pick him up. I think DeAndre Swift would be Chip's and Chip was kind of worried about DeAndre Swift, I know. Or I think it was DeAndre Swift. But him and Taylor have been amazing the last couple of weeks. Like Jonathan Taylor is getting more work for Indianapolis. Indianapolis actually looks like a team now. I know they didn't win, but they looked better than they did. And Swift.
There's a quarterback that has 2 sprained ankles.
2 sprains, yeah.
In one play. And he's still playing the next week.
And they're missing their best lineman.
As long as he keeps throwing it to Michael Pittman Jr., I'm fine. Keep going.
Yeah, that offense seems to be finding its groove. And then DeAndre Swift is getting tons of work for the Lions, especially in like the short passing game. Because that's as far as Jared Goff can throw.
Yeah.
But I think Chip's really well set up with his running backs.
I don't have much to say. It's my game. I think Chip's got the edge right now, but it's probably 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, but you have Derrick Henry who could score you 75,000 points in a given week, so.
Yeah, it's one of those weeks I need everyone to play well. I can't have anyone skipping out. I'm hoping I finally had my tight end. Hunter Henry's had a couple good weeks. I'm hoping he can keep that up. And Ben Burrow, he can keep playing what he's been doing. Burrow's been kind of solid lately too. So I found my quarterback and my tight end, and that might be enough to keep me going.
I think Deontay Johnson has a great matchup against Seattle this week. Seattle defense gives up a lot of yards, so I think
I benched AJ Brown for Antonio Brown, but I'm torn. I'm kind of wondering if I should be starting Deontay Smith for Philly against Tampa. I love that matchup.
Yeah, Tampa's secondary is Richard Sherman's going to have another week of practice under his belt, but other than the secondary for that, they're beat up. They beat the hell. That might be a really good matchup, and Jalen Hurts is only getting better as time goes. That's tonight, so you got to make that decision soon, Anthony.
I know. I don't think I'm going to do it. I'm going to probably kick myself when he gets 30 points tonight. But I got to get more consistency. I really like my wide receivers. But the depth of my wide receivers, I should say, they're not. I don't have the top end guys that some people like DJ Moore and CeeDee Lamb. Chip's got 2 guys that are top 7. But Hopkins, Antonio Brown, Deontay Johnson have been a nice number 1, 2, 3. I got AJ Brown. If he can get it figured out, he's solid. Michael Thomas is on the IR. He'll be back in a week.
Maybe.
I don't know if it could be longer. I don't know, and I don't know if he'll be Michael Thomas of old or not. I doubt it. But if he can be a number 2, that's another, so I gotta start looking at trading some wide receiver depth. See if I can snag a running back.
Yeah. All right. Next one, Jeremy.
All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out whether I took that tip on the Tampa Bay secondary sucking, and I'm wondering if Rieger has a spot in my starting lineup here. But let's get back to the podcast. We have Jordan versus AJ. Jordan, looks like you're gonna put a pounding on AJ this week.
Well, AJ has some maneuvering to do still because his Edwards Hilaire is on IR, so he has some maneuvering to do. I'm feeling pretty good about this week, but anything.
I don't know if there's much maneuvering he can do at this point. He's got to find a running back that can start on the waiver wire.
Yeah,
pretty quick. He doesn't have anyone on the bench. So AJ, if you're listening, we'll find someone.
You have 2 IR spots.
Yeah, I think this is. I mean, unless AJ can pull something out of his hairy butt, I don't think AJ's gonna be able to win this one this week. It's too much to go up against.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm excited to see how Ertz plays this week. Mike Williams is back in my lineup after a week off last week. I gave him some rest. He scored 33, which I hate that I rested him or benched him. But that's a matchup I like with Baltimore. Is that Baltimore? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Baltimore gets into shootouts a lot, so except when they play Detroit for some reason. But yeah, I like James Robinson against Minnesota, and Eckler is always a freaking stud, so I'm looking forward to it.
In a normal year where Derrick Henry isn't scoring or running like 47 times in a game, Eckler might be the number 1 running back.
His passing upside is so good, and like last week, the Browns literally pushed him into the end zone. I'm like, oh, I'll take the touchdown. But after the first week, Eckler didn't get any target, or he got 1 target or something like that. So I was a little worried then too. But I think his passing upside or receiving upside, I should say, is so good that he might end up being the number 1, other than Derrick Henry, who runs the ball 75 times a game. I'm also looking forward to the Cooper Cup matchup against the Giants. I think he's going to explode against them, so I'm excited. We'll see what happens, though.
All right. Yeah, AJ, edit that lineup, and then we might have a matchup going. Oh, I've got an ad for MGM Sportsbook.
Sponsored by BetMGM.
Oh, we just got demonetized. Thanks, Jeremy.
Shit. All right, we got Mike versus Ben. Mike coming with 140 points predicted. That's pretty damn high.
I think it's going to be closer than it looks. I mean, Josh Allen has been a stud the past couple weeks, but I think it is going to be closer than it looks right on here. Tony might have a good game against the Rams. I mean, the Rams are pretty good, but do we know if Daniel Jones is back yet?
We don't, and he did not look good. He stumbled, I think, at least once getting off the field.
So what is that, Mike Glennon throwing the ball around there? So, I mean, Tony's still the only wide receiver for the Giants, but I'm really curious how that Booker pickup looks, because if it is Mike Glennon, they might be running the ball a hell of a lot more. And then I don't know what Miles Sanders has been doing this season. Like, he was one of the guys I was kind of interested in drafting, but I don't know how he's actually been doing this year.
If you talk to Ben, he would say not good.
On the other side, I mean, you said Chubb didn't practice today, so that could be good for Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
For some reason, the Chiefs' offense has kind of looked out of sync the past couple weeks, but I think Kelsey is going to have a good game against Washington. Washington's defense is not as good as everybody thought before the season started. And Adam Thielen's kind of had a quiet couple weeks too, so I think he's going to bounce back. I think it's going to be closer than people think, though. Or closer than predicted. So, especially with Godwin, because that receiving core for Tampa Bay is so packed that any wide receiver in any week can be like left out of it. So,
yep. Good luck figuring out which one to. It's not fun.
All right, Cubbies versus Jorge. I think Jorge's got a pretty safe chance of winning here this week. Ravens seem unstoppable, so it's entirely possible Lamar Jackson throws up 30 points. But then again, the Rams do have a pretty good offense. I just know in the past few weeks, Matthew Stafford hasn't been playing as well as he was at the beginning of the week or the beginning of the season.
Something to keep in mind with Jorge's team is Williams is out. He's on COVID. Carson, I don't know if Carson's playing. So Adam might have to roll with Sony Michel as his number 2 running back. And then Decaf's got no one to throw to him. So it looks like Jorge right now, but there's a very good chance. This is kind of like the game we just talked about. To me, this is kind of 50-50, despite what it says right now.
Hey, he picked up... scroll back down real quick, Jeremy. Is that Josh Gordon I saw?
Yep.
He did pick up Josh Gordon.
That could be a sneaky pickup right there.
He picked up Josh Gordon a couple weeks ago.
I also respect the IR spot with the kicker. I respect that a lot.
Yeah, you gotta respect that.
Jorge's following the same pattern as I am. Pick up a guy who's supposed to be a starting running back, put him on your IR for the year, and hope that he's worth something next year come keeper time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this game's going to be closer than it looks, though.
Yeah. Mixon, I think, is going to have a big game because Mixon will be the only running back, and Detroit can make garbage running backs look good. So I think Mixon's in for a good game.
Keenan Allen also exploded this week again because, like I said, that Chargers offense looks amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd expect a big game from Keenan Allen.
Yeah, it's hard to say who's going to take this one, but I would not be shocked. Not to say I expect it, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Donnie come away with the second win this weekend.
I'm hoping so too, so I can move up in the standings. But yeah, all right. How many we got left, Jeremy?
I think that's it.
We got one more.
Oh,
we got sliced nuts against refrigerator.
All right, another close prediction here, but let's get into the actual players because, yeah, I mean, these are two good teams. Brennan's had a few bad weeks, including an upset win by me.
I don't know if I trust Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins. I don't know. I've never had him in fantasy before. I don't think he's looked good the past couple of weeks, though. I mean, he has great receivers in Thielen and Jefferson.
Russell Wilson's out, so he's got to have somebody there.
That's true.
And Kirk Cousins is better than anybody else out there right now. Maybe Teddy Bridgewater's better.
Cousins was a backup for Brendan, and I consider trading for him because there was just nothing out there. But I think he'll get by with Cousins for a month or so. So yeah. He's catching Nick on a good week because Nick's got Kamara on the bench. That helps a lot when he's got Burnett or Harris. So
we'll see if Hawkinson can come back too. I feel like he hasn't had that many standout weeks recently either. Against Cincinnati, he might though. I kind of like those matchups with Hawkinson. Also, Jared Goff just needs to find Hawkinson and give him the ball as much as possible. He's one of two, I should say three weapons we have on offense. I think Cephas is also pretty good. He might be hurt though, I think.
Yeah, I think Cephas had some good games. Is it Amon St. Brown? I'm sorry, I don't have Amon Ra. Yeah, he's been coming on lately too. I feel like they've got pieces. They just have to figure out how to put it together and not make the mistakes. I think we saw what the team can be in that first half against Green Bay. Yeah. It's a solid team. If the offense doesn't make mistakes and the defense finds ways to bend but don't break, it's a good team. They just have to put it together and have two good halves of football. They haven't done it yet.
We even played good against Baltimore too, and our defense was great against the Vikings last week, except when we let the underneath pass come in for Thielen. But
I didn't watch much of the game last week, but I would say other than that, they've been a team of two halves. Yeah. One half they play great, and the other half they play like absolute garbage. And if they could figure out how to not have that garbage, even if it's play decent, play okay, and then have that good half, they should have 2, maybe 3 wins right now, easily.
Well, I would say definitely 2 at least, especially when our record-setting field goal wins it for the other team. That bounces off the crossbar and goes in.
If your defense cannot give up 70 yards in 25 seconds in 2 games this year, you'd have 2 wins.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I think this is going to be a good matchup this week, though.
Yeah, I like it. And so the interesting thing with Nick, too, is if Damien Harris can't play, he's got Herbert for Chicago, who is available to play now and will be the starter.
Wow.
I believe this weekend. So there is a chance Nick rolls with Herbert in there at running back.
That'd be pretty interesting to see how that goes. I mean, because Chicago's starting running back has had a few great weeks until he got injured.
Well, and even the guy, I can't think of his name right now, but the one Horty picked up, is it Harris?
I think so. I don't know, but the running game for Chicago, regardless, is still doing very well.
Yeah, he had a good week last week for Chicago too, so I feel like it's a good spot to run. So with Herbert, maybe that's a good guy to plug in if Damien Harris can't go for New England.
Right. All right. We have anything else, guys?
I think that's it. And we're going to be done just in time to watch some football tonight, boys.
That's right.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you later.
All right. Have a good week, everyone.